Should I buy shares of the company Ripple before they go public, or should I buy XRP? It is a question I have gotten so many times, and I'm not going to answer it because I'm not here to be your financial advisor. I'm not here to give you tax or legal advice either. Go consult with your professionals. And if you don't got those professionals on your team, let's get our game up. Let's make sure we establish those relationships. That's first. Next, when it comes time to make an investment decision here, you need to understand your risk tolerance and what you are trying to achieve. What is your goal with that investment? Because we have two completely different opportunities, right? It's like folks asking, should I start a restaurant business or should I start a tech AI company? It's two completely different opportunities. Same thing here with equities in Ripple, pre-IPO. They have not done their public offering yet. So we have pre-IPO shares versus XRP, the digital currency. Some call it a reserve currency, which is why I, emphasize that we are comparing two different opportunities. It's not just comparing equity, stock versus a cryptocurrency. You're talking about equity stock versus a reserve currency. Now, I know that's just me, sharing how I feel about XRP and what I call my XRP, what my XRP identifies as. But let's get right on into this opportunity because so many people ask me this question. Like I said, you're in a different spot from anybody, so I can't give any sort of general advice, even if I wanted to, but I'm not here to be a financial advisor either, okay? So you need to understand your risk tolerance and what we're trying to achieve. When it comes to this opportunity, I see massive opportunities for both. The long and the short of it is both look amazing to me. Both look amazing to me. Full disclosure, I don't own any shares of Ripple equity right now. I wish that I could share more details on Ripple equity. I've had some conversations in our private group, and I mostly stick to my conversations in the private group when it comes to investment opportunities. In fact, I only exclusively talk about investment opportunities over with my private group. And by the way, I will never DM you on any social media platforms, period, full stop. I'm done. The only place to get in touch with me is through my website, ZachRector.com, or to join our Patreon community and get in to our exclusive Discord community. Only places that I will be responding to any messages going forward. Watch out for the scammers. I don't have a trading group. I don't have any investment opportunities that I'm trying to, DM you about, period. So I got to get that out of the way. Let's get into this valuation, though, because right now we see the company Ripple did buy back some stock last year at a valuation of $15 billion. That was a premium on top of the $10 billion valuation that they had just the year prior to that. And we see that the valuation right now is basically about $9 to $10 billion is the valuation for the company Ripple. And we see XRP, right? What's the market cap of XRP? Let's pull it up. It's at 61 cents right now at the time of this recording. And our market cap is 33 billion. Okay. So I'm not going to go deep on market cap on this one, market cap and the fallacies that, that data point provides when we're trying to do valuations on a liquidity token like XRP. It's completely different when we're doing a valuation on a company like Ripple. I want to share a case in point of how, these companies right now are getting overvalued. The price to earnings ratios that you're seeing for the top stocks are way overvalued. Nvidia, just to name one, right? And you can go down the list, the Magnificent Seven that have kept the S&P 500 propped up this whole year. You guys understand that the market has been overvalued and we're starting to see a correction in equities. And similar to what we saw in crypto with the AI, metaverse, NFT hype, we see the same thing with equities. Traditional equities are being hyped right now by digital assets, and by AI is kind of the main thing that's hyped up these markets this year. And so I wanted to show you guys a case in point of where investing in an IPO and getting caught holding the bag, how this can go wrong. So a perfect example is WeWork. This is a stock that fell 50% earlier this week on the news that the company is filing bankruptcy. Less than 5 years ago, WeWork was worth nearly $50 billion and one of the hottest IPOs of all time. Today, the stock is down 99.7% since its IPO and is set to drop below $1 per share. WeWork lost $694 million in the first half of this year and remains unprofitable. It's both fascinating and terrifying how quickly this company collapsed. Yet another sign that commercial real estate is in trouble. Now, that's another side topic, but the case in point of WeWork as a darling, right? A darling IPO, $50 billion valuation. Imagine getting caught holding that bag. And I'm sharing this example to warn what could be coming for Ripple in their IPO, right? An initial run up, We see this time and time again, an initial run up. We saw it with Coinbase. That was one of the biggest IPOs related to digital assets that we've seen so far, right? And that initial IPO commanded an incredible price, and it's down about, I think, 90% since that IPO price too. So, folks are getting caught holding the bags on these IPOs. And instead of offloading when that hype is there, when all the attention is there, you look at a company like Ripple. When they announced their IPO, we're going to be in the middle of a bull market, most likely. The SEC lawsuit will be completely behind us. This is going to be very, very hype, right? And so just watch out. Now, when it comes to this company, looking at who they're connected with, are they part of the club? They are absolutely part of the club. As we just reported on yesterday, did you know that the regulatory co-host for the 2023 DC FinTech Week is going to be the Bank for International Settlements? This is coming up next week, 6th through the 9th of November. And of course, we have our CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, speaking on stage. And this is just hilarious because he's speaking on stage with Gary Gensler, former board of advisors at Ripple, Michael Barr, who is now vice chair of supervision at the Federal Reserve and literally in charge of supervising the banking crisis. So that's the type of caliber that you have at Ripple, right? 43rd Treasurer of the United States leaves the Treasury to go be board of directors at Ripple. You have Michael Barr, who is a big hitter, already had a fantastic resume before he was a board of advisors at Ripple, but then he's left that position and now he serves as vice chair of supervision at the Federal Reserve, literally monitoring the banking crisis this year. So that is the big hitter all-star team that has been assembled at Ripple. So when we look at the team, the box has been checked multiple times. I mean, I call them the all-star team of cryptocurrency digital assets, but I've also compared Ripple to more than just a central bank. I compare them to the IMF or the BIS. Speaking of the BIS being the co-host for the DC FinTech Week, I compare Ripple to the BIS or the International Monetary Fund because they're not just servicing one country like a central bank would, they're servicing the world, right? Now, when we look at a lot of folks, a lot of the market cap bros want to say the XRP can only go so high because the market cap of Apple is, two point something trillion dollars. You have a few other stocks that are over $1 trillion in market cap. And those, we had Apple command a $1 trillion market cap for the first time. It was the first company to command a $1 trillion market cap back in 2018. So this is kind of new for the traditional stocks. And this is why people can't wrap their little minds around, the market cap bros can't wrap their little minds around XRP achieving more of a market cap than the equity in one company, the market cap of one stock of one company. And this is why I say this is a completely different comparison and investment opportunity when we're looking at the Ripple pre-IPO versus XRP. And market cap is not going to be a hindrance. It is not going to be a cap, pun intended, on the price of XRP, right? Because you're not comparing apples to apples when you're saying XRP can achieve a market cap of 5 trillion because Apple only achieved a market cap of, not even 3 trillion. That is the wrong way to be looking at this and comparing the two investment opportunities. But with that being said, when we want to look at Ripple and the possibilities, well, this article right here by the Motley Fool kind of shows you how high some of these companies have gone. As I stated, in 2018, Apple was the first company to reach a market cap of 1 trillion. A few years later, 6 of the largest companies by market cap have exceeded that number. So now we have 6 companies with over 1 trillion market cap. Apple currently sitting at the number 1 with 2.72 trillion, followed by Microsoft at 2.57 trillion, Saudi Arabian Oil 2.14 trillion, Alphabet at 1.59 trillion, and Amazon at 1.49 trillion. So tech companies have grown rapidly, 7 of the 10 largest companies in the sector, and all of them have outpaced the S&P 500 over the past 5 years, which that's why your S&P 500 just had its best week last week, up about 5% on the week. Best week in 2023 because the stocks have rallied after Fed gave us another pause. But I digress. Back to the topic at hand. When you look at comparing Ripple to an Apple, a Microsoft, and Amazon, the comparison is there because Apple is a tech company, right? And you look at Ripple, they're a fintech company. They're also a digital asset company. But you also got to kind of compare them to a central bank for central banks, an IMF, a BIS kind of comparison is warranted, in my opinion. And when I look at the addressable market, I'm going to show you guys here in a second what Link2 has reported, kind of some of their findings on the opportunity. The total addressable market is not just cross-border payments. The total addressable market is, as Ripple said in their own words, all the money, right? Now, that's the addressable market for XRP. What's the addressable market for Ripple? I mean, you're talking banking, you're talking payments, anything that can be tokenized on an internet of value is going to be tokenized on this internet of value. And a lot of it is going to be running on the XRPL. And is that necessarily going to hit the bottom line for Ripple? Not necessarily, right? But this is a company that's acquired Medico, which now offers custody solutions. And so this is why I say their addressable market is banking, it's payments, it's cross-border payments, it is derivatives, it is real estate. Look at the deal that they did with the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, where they're looking at tokenizing real estate. Right? Look at, their partnership with HSBC. HSBC just announcing last week tokenized gold, right? So when you look at Ripple and what is their addressable market, what are they going after? It's similar to a company like Amazon that started with the bookstore, right? It was just a bookstore. That was it. And then now everybody's buying everything on Amazon. They have software as a service. They have all sorts of offerings, right? And so this is why I say Ripple, I think, is comparable to one of these top companies. And we very well could see Ripple actually in, I believe that we could see Ripple in, the top 20, top 10 companies in the world by market cap. I do believe that is possible if they continue on their trajectory and if they don't basically sell out to a bigger player, to a JP Morgan, to someone like that would basically buy them out. Now, that is a possibility too for their IPO, is they go public through a SPAC, which is where they get acquired by a company and then they go public. That's very possible, but I don't think it's likely because Ripple has their own strength. Like they have their own company is already so deep. And so they're in a position to go acquire a Medico. They looked over the deal for Fortress Trust. They ended up backing out. That was just doing good due diligence on their behalf. And so they're in a position to actually, as the articles were saying, pick over the carcass of FTX and basically, acquire or eat up anyone else in the space that's a competitor and or expand out to other verticals, just like they did with Medico. See, Ripple wasn't a custody, solution at all. Right? Our story that we were told was Ripple's only for cross-border payments. Well, we know that it can do derivatives. We know that they're going into real estate. We know that they're going into tokenizing a whole internet of value. But then they just happened to spend, what did they spend? $250 million, purchasing Medico? A little check for Brad and the team to cut. And then next thing you know, they're in the vertical of custody. So you see how quickly they can grow and expand out from here. It's going to be interesting to see where they can go. But let's talk about the Ripple valuation here. So like I said, we did see earlier on last year, basically in January of 2022, Ripple did buy back shares from investors. Despite the crazy headwinds with the SEC, we grew very quickly, CEO of Brad Garlinghouse said. The company is buying back shares from investors who gave it $200 million in 2019. So right here, this was shared in January of 2022, and Ripple secured Series C funding led by Tetragon with investments from SBI Holdings and Route 66 Ventures at a $10 billion valuation in late 2019. Ripple is reacquiring the equity shares at a $15 billion valuation, which suggests that investors made a 50% profit in just over 2 years. The company did not confirm the details of the transactions beyond the company valuation. And they, were comfortable showing that. And it shows how they feel about the future of their company, right? Not only has Ripple been buying back their shares, they've also been buying back XRP to facilitate their ODL clients as well. That's a separate side note on XRP. They've been buying back XRP, and they've also been buying back shares of their own company, and they've been buying back the shares of their company at a premium. Those investors that funded the company in 2019 were just received 50% return in 2 years. Not too bad. And this is the valuation of Ripple right now. we take a look here. This is the Link2 website, and they share the valuation over time right here. The last round was in January of 2022. Series C buyback valuation post money was $15 billion. And there you have it. The implied valuation sitting at $9.5 billion. Okay. And what I wanted to show you guys is they did this, right? This was investors, the Series C buyback. They bought back from these investors that, they had raised $200 million from. They bought it back at a $15 billion valuation. But before that, we had their Series B back in 2016 at a $55 million valuation. And then we also had a Series A that was done at 38.5. Sorry, my apologies. They raised $55 million Series B in 2016 at a $410 million valuation. And the first initial raise that they did, the Series A, they raised $38 million at a $128 million valuation. Now, the point that I wanted to share here is that if you basically sell out now at a $15 billion valuation, if any of these investors did, right? If any of these investors went to a company like Link2, or if they, went to Ripple, or they went to somebody who wanted to buy those shares off them, and if they could command that $15 billion valuation that Ripple just paid, or, even at the $10 billion valuation, you're talking nearly a 100 times return on your investment, because you invested when the company was valued at 128 million. And if we just round up, 150, 10x would be 1.5 billion. And we see that the company was just, bought back their own shares at a $15 billion valuation. That would be a 100x. Right, for those initial investors. So even though we think that we're early right now getting into Ripple, getting into pre-IPO shares, you have to remember that there was $38 million raised by, Andreessen Horowitz, China Capital Growth, CME Ventures, the Digital Currency Group, the Founders Fund. And this was in 2015, right? So those guys and gals got in way early. And now they are the type of folks that are selling off shares to companies, platforms like Link2, that are turning around and then selling them to us, right? This is where the shares of Ripple are becoming available to folks that want to get tapped in with Link2 and other platforms and offerings as well. What's so exciting though about this deal is I look at this. You're right now, let's just say that Ripple's valued at a $10 billion valuation. There's plenty of room to go. I mean, look at WeWork. WeWork, had a $50 billion IPO, right? Now they're down to less than $1 per share, and they've completely collapsed 99.7%. But based off of the real utility, the real business model, what I'm excited to see coming here from Ripple is they have mostly been making most of their revenue, and most of the money that they're making is actually coming from selling XRP. Now, what I'm excited to see change here is the Ripple is starting to acquire Medico. They're offering other things like their liquidity hub solutions. They've merged everything into Ripple payments, and their ability to drive revenue from other sources on top of having the XRP gets very interesting. And that's why this valuation is so interesting to me, is because this valuation doesn't include the escrowed XRP. You got to understand that the valuation right now for Ripple only includes the XRP that they have basically on their public wallets and balances that's available to them to use right now. Because they don't have access to the XRP that's in escrow, the proper way to do the accounting on that is to not account for that. Now, when it comes to actually valuing a company, though, when I go to value Ripple, you bet I am, including that valuation of the nearly 50 billion XRP that they have. I think it's 45 billion in escrow now is the total. So they have 45 billion in escrow. I mean, even at today's prices, that's a significant holding, isn't it? It's more than the valuation of $10 billion. So this is why I think that the company is still undervalued significantly. And one example that I wanted to share, it's like the difference between proven and probable reserves. So when you go to value an oil or a natural gas company, a mining company for gold, you have proven and you have probable reserves. Now, the escrowed XRP is proven reserves. It's not a trust me, bro. It's not, oh, we might strike oil here. Oh, we might strike gold here. No, we have the gold. Ripple has the reserve currency of the new financial system, XRP, and they have 45 billion of them. And the way that they're being the righteous custodians of XRP right now is they're only selling it to on-demand liquidity partners and institutions that are going to use it for utility and drive further adoption of XRP and build up liquidity on the XRPL. So, the perfect example of this is proven reserves. Like, this is oil that we know we have in the ground. This is gold that we know we have in the vault. Same thing here. And when you think that in the valuation right now, it's not even being accounted for, that's a discount right there. Now, the other thing to consider is there's no cost basis for Ripple for that XRP. That XRP was gifted to them at $0. So they have zero cost basis. So when they sell XRP now at 61 cents, it's all profit. When they sell XRP at $10 down the road, it's going to be all profit, right? I mean, maybe they have a little bit of cost because they have to have, some cold storage solutions, some custody solutions. Now they have the company Medico to maybe help them with that and give them a discount. There's no cost though. You guys get my point. And like I said, the total addressable market for Ripple might not be all the money, but for XRP, it is all the money. And with Ripple having such a significant amount and properly distributing that XRP to the proper banks, institutions, payment providers, this is what's going to build out the ecosystem and the opportunity here. Now, I share all this to say, for me, like I said, it's both. I want both, but I'm going to be very careful here. Do I think that XRP is a better opportunity than Ripple IPO? I do. Which one is going to give us let's just roll with a 10x. Because I think this is very easy to do the math on. Say Ripple is going to be valued at $100 billion for their IPO, right? That's a 10x from today's price, where you could be going to pick up some shares here today. I think that that's very possible. I also think that a 10x for XRP is very possible. Which one's going to happen first? I don't know. I wish I had that answer, but I think that it will coincide. I think that we're going to see XRP start to roll. I think that we're going to see Ripple time their IPO based off of regulations, based off of the next bull run, based off of a higher XRP price. And this is going to command a higher price for the IPO as well. Now, what follows is going to be a dramatic sell-off for both Ripple shares and for XRP price. I've always said this about XRP, and I'm saying the same thing about Ripple equity, is that whatever you see on that IPO day is probably going to be the high that we're going to see for a while, okay? And then there's going to be a lot of exit liquidity found, and that's going to be folks, that want to get out, that got in at a $10 billion valuation when Ripple IPOs and they're commanding a $100 billion valuation, right? That's an easy 10x. Same thing's going to happen for XRP. When we go up to $6 for XRP, there's going to be all sorts of people hitting the exits because they got their 10x, or they picked up XRP at 20, 30 cents. And so they have a 20x, a 30x, right? People are going to be hitting the off ramps. Now, for me, this is why I say I treat XRP differently. A large chunk of my XRP, I treat as a reserve currency on my balance sheet, and I'm going to leverage and collateralize that XRP to get loans, to take out debt against that XRP without having to sell it, because I want to keep it on my balance sheet as a reserve currency. Am I going to sell some XRP into fiat US dollars along the way? Yes, maybe a little bit. When it comes to equity deals and taking positions in a company like this, I'm not married to it. And unless the company is going to be putting out a dividend that's significant, I'm not looking to hold on to it. And as someone who's going to be getting in on, or someone who's going to be buying early before they go public, you're probably going to want to find some of that liquidity. You're probably going to want to take a look at, exiting that position upon that IPO hype, right? What we've seen through all these IPOs is we go crazy, we go nuts, and then we cool off. Now, that's not to say that the company's not going to build back up and eventually go achieve a higher valuation, a higher price. And like I said, I don't rule out Ripple being a top 20, being a top 10 market cap company in the United States equities market down the road. I don't rule that out at all. But you're talking about Ripple going to a valuation in the trillions of dollars if that is to become a reality, which is a long way from today's valuation of 10 billion. So, like I said, I'm not here to be anybody's financial advisor. I just move in complete transparency. You guys know my deal. So right now, at the time of this recording, I don't own any Ripple shares. I don't own any Ripple equity. But I am going to be looking at right now, the market's cooling off. Right now, we have liquidity coming out of the space. And I'm going to be looking at, essentially buying this dip on potentially Ripple equity and other companies as well. For XRP, you already know my bags are packed on that. And like I said, it's a different mentality. It's a different part of my investment portfolio for the stocks and the equities that I'm going to be buying. I'm exclusively only looking at pre-IPO companies. I'm not going to be looking at, building out any sort of portfolio with already publicly traded companies. I don't think that that is the way to, hit the 10 baggers, hit the 100 baggers like we're looking for. For XRP, you guys know my plan. I'm going to sell off some slivers along the way, but it's a long-term hold because it's a reserve currency. So two completely different sides of my portfolio. And that's why I say I'm not going to answer that question. And we shouldn't be asking that question, Ripple IPO versus XRP. The answer is both. And it's two different sides of your portfolio. Understand your risk tolerance, understand what your expectations are, and make sure you don't get caught holding the bag after the hype dies out, fizzles out, because it's happening time and time again. This is the internet age, this is the IPO age, and so we're going to see a lot of exit liquidity achieved after that IPO. Don't get caught holding that bag, and that's all I want to leave you guys with. I do have a link up down below if you guys want to get tapped in with Link to. You can buy shares of Ripple, you can buy shares of Uphold, all the other companies that they offer on their platform. I have my link up down below if you guys are looking to buy Ripple equity and more. So take advantage of that. Everything else can be found on my website, ZachRector.com, and I will see you guys in the next one. God bless you all.